Welcome to Amplifying Wellness with TLC, a podcast where we discuss self-care and wellness through our guest stories, information, and tips on how to live healthier and happier lives. We are Twin Life Coaching and Business Services with your hosts, myself, Tara Lehman, and my sister and partner in crime, Barb Schutz. We care about increasing awareness around your self-care and mental health through this podcast, coaching, workshops, and a supportive community. To find out more about all of our services and our community, please visit twinlifecoaching.ca. As a reminder, this podcast is for sharing of stories and information only and is not intended to be or replace any medical advice you are seeking or have received. Thank you, Tara. So today we're welcoming Nicole Starbuck. Nicole is a psychic empath and a quantum energy healer who helps people shift from anxiety to aligned. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor and privilege to be here.
Great. So we like to start everything with just finding a little bit more about who our guests are. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background around wellness and self-care?
Great, thank you. So I first discovered my spiritual gift and abilities. Some people call that psychic intuition. When I was 9 years old, I didn't have the environment where I could really develop that. So I just kept it to myself. The prophetic dreams that I was receiving, the premonitions and the predictions, I would have visions and then things would come true. And I felt like I couldn't control what was happening to me and couldn't control the outcome of what I was feeling into. And so I just ended up having a lot of anxiety. And because I wasn't really being my authentic self, I ended up having a lot of depression as well, which is a cocktail for chronic illness. So I ended up having a lot of disease or dis-ease in my body. But I kept chugging along and trying to make things work. And I had a sort of wake up call in my early 20s. I thought I was doing everything right. Go to school, get good grades, get a good job. Everything will be fine, right? And it really wasn't. I ended up in the ER with a panic attack. And I just thought, gosh, there has to be another way. There has to be another way. I didn't want to go down that road of like taking one pill to treat one thing and another one to treat all the symptoms. And I just felt like there was a root cause here. And so I really went all in this spiritual growth and development journey, personal growth and development, self-care, holistic wellness. I started studying everything that I could. I started out in this professional world as a life coach and a self-care coach. And then I brought in the more spiritual or esoteric practices with some different healing modalities, Akashic records, guided meditation, Reiki, light language, hypnosis, because I realized it's all connected. And the more and more I studied this, the more I realized that the anxiety that I was experiencing really was my intuition coming through, but it's that there were all these other voices and influences speaking into my life that was creating confusion and second guessing and overwhelm. So I've cut that out for myself, cleared the channel, and now I show other people how to shift from anxious to aligned by tuning into their intuition.
So can you tell us why helping people from going from feeling that anxiety, like you were just talking about, to feeling aligned is so important to you?
Yeah, I feel like everyone has a story to share and that there is something really beautiful about that, as much as it sucks sometimes in the moment. I know for me, when I was in a really, really dark place and I just wanted it to stop, I just wanted something different, I felt like there was this voice speaking to me that said, don't give up. We're destined for greatness. There is purpose in the pain. Keep going. Someone out there needs to hear your story. And if you can help even one person with your experience, it will have all been worth it. And so that was really like the thing that kept me going, is help one person, help one person, help one person. But in this process of life coaching, of being the spiritual mentor, I actually ended up impacting so far that I've worked with one-on-one over 1,000 people. But of course, we know there's a ripple effect, right? Where that person knows 10 people, those people know 10 people. And so I would hope that that has rippled out into multiple thousands as well.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing. So I want to come back to a word you said that I absolutely love that you brought it up, which is the word purpose, right? So many people who are feeling that anxiety, and you mentioned depression earlier, maybe don't feel their purpose. And it's really exciting to hear that you found your purpose. And wow, the amount of people, and you're right, it goes by times 10 every time, right? So that's amazing.
Yeah, I know for me in that moment, that sort of awakening that I just described of there's purpose in the pain came right alongside with, well, what is my purpose?
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember I was just sort of so that moment I described was like in the shower, and the other moment of what is my purpose came through. I was coming out of my home office into the hallway, and I felt like your purpose is to become the best version of yourself, to encourage and empower others to become the best version of themselves. So that has been the foundation of everything that I do. I don't proclaim to be an expert in all the things, although I am highly proficient and possibly an expert in many different things, but I really am always learning and growing. And as I learn and grow, I help others through those steps as well.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, that's great. So can you help our audience understand what some of the challenges that people may bring to you when it comes to, just going from that whole anxious to being aligned?
Yeah. So I start people off with a couple of things. Number one, we get the question, is it anxiety or intuition? And I love to just bring people back into their body, because sometimes in these practices in the spiritual community, we can get kind of hung up on third-party tools. And I really just want to bring it back to the body, bring it back to your inner wisdom, your inner guidance. So when I ask you to feel into a situation and just notice where you're starting to feel that in your body, if a situation feels really, really good, a loving partnership, creating a lot of cash flow and revenue in your business, that feels really yummy, right? And we tend to feel that kind of like our hearts swelling and feeling really cozy and comfortable and starting to expand, right? But then if I ask you to think about a situation that's really stressful or that you're overthinking about, and already I can feel like kind of like given a daggers coming in, feels like contracting energy, like going inward, right? And so what I show people is how to take that sort of dagger feeling. And again, that could look different for somebody. That's just how I tend to feel it. And can we like visualize that and then start to pull that out and remove that and see that we do have the power, we can control, and we can energetically release that. And then from a more practical perspective, right, is, that's great for energetics, but how do we do this in a practical sense? The first thing that I teach people is, in getting into alignment, what is it that you actually want to align to or towards? And we go through your core values, which is, what are the top 5 things that you believe in, that no matter what happens, these never change? Because so often we get into people pleasing, right? We have fear of rejection. We say yes to everything. We have no boundaries. We let everyone walk all over us. So we say yes to everything and end up saying no to ourselves. Right? We start with, what are the core values? So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, put them in order. And then run everything through a filter. Every decision, every invitation, everything, your whole life. And start to ask yourself, is this adding value to number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5? And if not, then you then have the empowered ability to say no. You can say yes if it's just for fun, but you have the ability to say no. And so we start to get more and more aligned with our authentic truth and with our greatest good and our highest potential, and start to cut out the things that are actually creating stress and anxiety in our lives.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget about their own personal values. It's always about, like you said, people pleasing. And when you take it back to yourself, it truly, you truly get that sense of who you truly are and what you really actually want to do versus what you feel you have to do. I love the core value piece. That's so important. Something I think all of us use because, we all were or are life coaches at some point. And, the core values is so important. It's so important to know what they are to yourself. And not what society expects them to be for you, but to truly understand what they are for yourself. I love that you brought that up. I think it's such a key piece to ensuring people understand there's a difference between what society says they are and what you truly believe that yours are, and putting those together. I love it.
Exactly.
No, that's great. And it certainly would help with, understanding your own anxiety too, like you said. So we're going to kind of shift it a little bit. If maybe you could tell us a bit about your thoughts or some wins that you see when you see people moving from, after you've worked with them from that anxiety to feeling more aligned, like, what are some of those thoughts and feelings that you have around, empowering people that way?
I love to see people step into their power, to know their worth, to realize and recognize that they are enough, that they are worthy and deserving of all the good things that they've always been craving and seeking their whole life. And the magic for me is really in that shift, like when they realize and recognize this, they start to realize what they've been tolerating in their life, and they're not going to put up with it anymore. And then they start to create and call in the next level version of themselves and the next level version of their life. It's really that manifestation or dream come true. So I'll give you an example. I have someone that I'm working with that when we started this journey, like didn't even think that she had a sense of intuition. Like everyone has a sense of intuition. It's just that over time and through social conditioning, we lose sight of it. And so we had met at an in-person event. We started working together one-on-one. So I showed her what I just shared with you guys about the like feeling into her body and starting to align with our core values. And then she realized, hey, I don't actually like where I live. I don't like the job that I have. I don't like the relationship I'm in. Okay. Great. What are we going to do about that? So then we start doing those shifts in those areas in her life. Now she's broken things off with the person that wasn't right for her. She's getting a promotion at work. She's moving across the country to where she wants to live. And so we get to see the tangible results of what happens when somebody does recognize their authentic truth and start proclaiming it and declaring it and stepping into their power.
Oh, that's a great success story. I like that. I like that you brought up your intuition, because I always say go with your gut. And I find that when clients get stuck somewhere in whatever those decisions they have to make are, I'll ask them, I said, well, what does your gut tell you? And it's amazing. And I tell them they can't think about it. Just what is your gut saying right now? Answer the question. What is it? Don't give them time to premeditate something. Do you find that those types of conversations really help them? Or do you find that some of your clients are hesitating in answering the question?
Yeah, my pet peeve, and I don't let people get away with it, is I don't know. I'm like, no, you do know.
Yes, you do know.
You just don't like the answer. There's a difference. So gut feeling, right, is what some people call the intuition. And I want to share with people, you may feel truth in your gut, but you may actually feel it somewhere else. So I personally feel it in my gut. Something else I walk clients through is, where do you feel truth in your body? If I were to say the sky is blue, I feel it like a sort of clenching in my belly. If I were to say the sky is green, immediately I want to shake my head. No, it's not green. That's not the case. Right? But some people, have had clients where their yes for truth is forward and backwards, a sort of rocking motion. I've had people where it's no is side to side. I've had clients where a yes is actually like a fluttering, like their heart beating in their chest. And I've had people that when they get a no, it's like a tingling in their hands and fingers. So there's no right or wrong, but it's really tuning into, how do you feel things? How do you get a sense of what's right for you and what's not? And then tuning into that so that you can not just think from that headspace, because what do we have? So many other sources of information plugging into us all the time. Parents, and spouses, and partners, and kids, and media, and social media, not to mention, how we grew up and all these things. And so if we were to actually unplug from all of that, that's when we get to the source of our innate wisdom.
And I think unplugging from the phone and unplugging from everything else, sometimes it needs done. It really needs done to help clear our minds. I have a quick question, because I know you've done a lot of different modalities in your past, and it kind of sounds like you're talking about the gut and intuition. Do you do work with the five senses?
I do work with the five senses. I work with them more in the sense of the clairs. So for anyone that's not familiar with what that is, the clairs are very closely connected to the five senses, but it's how we are receiving and perceiving information. So most people are familiar with clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, or seeing here in the mind's eye, if not in your physical eyes. And then also claircognizance, which is clear knowing. So you may just have like a sense of information, even though nobody's told you any information. Then we also have clairsentience, which is clear feeling. So feeling things in your body. That brings us back to the embodiment piece that I was talking about. People have also heard of clairaudience, which is clear hearing. The sometimes called as voices in our head, but it's the good voices and the bad
And
voices,
the bad.
the white and the gray, right? Like the ones that are
Yeah.
telling you something positive, something negative, right? And then we also have other senses such as clairolfactants, which is clear smelling. So this may be picking up on smells that either are hard for others to detect or may not be there at all. I tend to smell things that are really nasty and yucky. I don't know why. I've met with someone that they smell perfume and roses. Great. I want some of that. And then we also get clairolfactants, which is clear tasting, where you can actually taste or perceive things that are harder for others to detect. Or like I used to taste like metallic or like blood in my mouth, like yucky, right? But what I tell people is that your senses are channels. These are ways that you are perceiving information, whether or not you want to use the word clear or not. But these are also signs and signals. So for example, if I get a phantom smell of, say, trash, nobody wants to smell garbage, right? But this is a sign, it's a signal. Oh, something's up. Let me tune in. What's going on? Am I getting any messages? What's happening here?
It's amazing how our bodies do that, right? But we use our senses in ways that we would never know. Yeah, it's amazing how we can do that. So let us go to, that big tip or that key takeaway that if our audience heard nothing else today, what do you want them to take away today to help them from going from anxious or depressed to aligned within their self-care and wellness?
I would say this has been my experience and the experience of my one-on-one and my group coaching clients is that your anxiety is really a sign of your intuition coming through. It's just that we have all that other chatter going on. And I would challenge you, I would encourage you that you already have the answers. The answers are inside of you. It's just a matter of whether or not you're listening and next step, doing something about it. So we can hear the answers. We can cut out the clutter and hear all the answers we want. But unless we're actually taking those inspired ideas and taking aligned action, we're not really going to see that shift in your life moving forward.
Very true. That's a great tip. Yeah. We have to recognize, though, that we need that support before you can actually do anything about it. Absolutely. So, Nicole, thank you for a great conversation today. If anybody here was listening and they want to learn more about you or your business, how can they find you online?
Thank you. Yes, you can find me online. My main website is oracleacademy.com. It's a little play on words like the psychic oracle and the word aura, AURACLE academy.com. I'm also the hostess of a beautiful Facebook community. So you can find that at facebook.com/groups/Oracle Academy. And then you can find me on Instagram, instagram.com/Nicole.Starbuck. That's NICOLE, little dot in the middle, Starbuck like the coffee, but without the S at the end.
Great. Thank you. Well, thanks again, Nicole. That was a great little insight into some of the things that you do with all your clients. It was a really good little conversation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share.
Yeah. At Twin Life Coaching and Business Services, we're here for you through all of our services and our new safe and welcoming community with discussion groups, ebooks, workshops, and more, all included in the annual membership. You can find our link on our homepage of our website to explore more information about this. Thank you to our listeners for joining us today and our great conversation with Nicole. We all hope you were able to take away some great key points that can help you on your wellness journey. To learn more about all of our services and our supportive new Amplifying Your Wellness community that Barb mentioned, please visit us at twinlifecoaching.ca. That's .ca for Canada. Until next time, remember, you've got this.